Okay, good morning. So I had a stream yesterday, and after the stream I started to think more about some kind of possibilities on like global climate deals and how they relate to this global carbon pricing system, and also like what would be fair. And I think it's a very difficult question, and so I came up with this idea of like a kind of like a maybe a four-part system or something. I'm gonna try to sketch it out. So basically like how to incentivize global like stopping climate change, what would be fair and stuff like that. So let's say we have the whole world here, and then we divide that world to two parts. So we have here those okay, let's have here first like those who commit to climate target. And yeah, let's have here that's like those who don't commit to this thing. And then we have I think like under this group we have these we can have the subgroups. So I think we first let's make these numbers here or divide these to these groups. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 0. So all these 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the countries who are like helping the system. These are like the good guys. You can be like any of these, and you are the good guy. So we could have a first distinction here. We could have this kind of like so these commit to global carbon price, and these guys don't commit to carbon price. They are still like committed to this climate goal. And then we have another like distinction after this, and it goes a little bit we have these So these countries use country specific emission targets. And then we have another group here. So these countries pool their emission targets together. So this kind of like all it kind of starts from having a global carbon target and then having, so let's have another picture here first. So we have, let's say we have like this kind of global emission target. So and then if we have like a kind of sinks here and we reach here carbon neutrality, these emissions and these net land use sinks, they are together. And now we focus on these emissions up top here. So we would specify for each country like what is their fair target, so that on average we reach this global target. And this is what I was like, yesterday's stream was pretty much about like what would be these fair targets. We don't go today too much into that, but yeah, there can be like basically if we go in this like in this kind of system that every country would have some kind of similar specific budget, it could lead to this kind of behavior where we have like very very high emission countries coming from here. So this kind of like pretty weird dynamics, because now this area here, so the emissions over time for this country, and this area here, so the emissions for this country over time, this would add up like, so this is the, so that would be kind of like fair that on average everyone would have some kind of like so let's say like if this kind of emissions we are allowed on average for each person. So now, okay, this this would be even wilder, because now, yeah, because so so that's why I think like when we get to these and this is now basically what these 1 and 2 countries 1 and 2 would commit to these so countries use country specific emission targets. So these 2 countries 1 and 2 would basically commit to this system. So the countries that adopt like this part of the system, and then we have these countries who kind of like agree here that okay, we're gonna pool these emission quotas together, so on average we get something like this, for example, and here for this year and this for this year. So this would lead to on average a lot fairer system, and they would reach it by adopting a global carbon price, and then I think here we have to have distribute carbon revenue on per capita basis. So this is what these countries would do, and then there would be like a for this like these four guys, we would have that countries have carbon dividend. So, and this means that they would redistribute the carbon revenue evenly across the all their people. So it basically means that, like, if you have countries, let's say, like, for example, like Germany and Kenya now, who are both in this kind of like how do you call this, like pool 4 or group 4, then all the Kenyans and all the Germans, they would, like, all the different persons in these countries, they would get an equal carbon dividend, and this would work. This would be, I think, like equally fair to this one, because now if we agree kind of like that, it would serve this purpose of everyone having like the right to emit this kind of like a bad, like, let's say that these are kind of like average countries in the world, so it would give every person the right to emit this much carbon, because the revenue is shared. That means that it's basically the same as giving this kind of like emission quotas to everyone, and I think it could be like, especially in terms of like between different countries, it could be helpful to talk about like emission trading system, like of this, like, or it is basically an emission trading system in that sense. But yeah, let's look at the other. So here it's always so there's no carbon dividend here, so this is the difference. So, and then let's go here. We have country specific emission targets. So and so if the purchase emission quotas from let's say like over achieving countries, if they don't reach them. So here there's two different kinds, two different ways to reach this fairness for those who are part of the system. I think I should have a different color here still. So no, let's just replace these. Okay, those who commit. Okay, we have a yeah, I think my colors are a little bit off here. Don't commit to carbon. Yeah, let's have a little bit different. Let's have here. I have the world. So here we have those who don't commit. Okay, yeah, and I should still say that I don't know if this works. So these are gonna like, okay, 0. So group 0. Let's just take this out. So one thing that I should add here, so I'm gonna make these smaller so that I can have the space to add. Don't commit to carbon. So we add here that these countries set tariffs. So these are kind of like let's call them punitive tariffs on those who don't. So this is group 0. So groups 1 through 4, they agree to set these tariffs on group on group 0. So yeah, I think that this is the kind of system that I've been thinking about. So, and I'm not sure, like, is this and of course I think the important thing here is also like what kind of punitive tariffs we have, and I think the EU's carbon border adjustment mechanism is a pretty good like blueprint for this. So the tariffs could be set on like the carbon intensity of those imports that are coming from the group 0 countries or something like that. So but then I think the EU, like this carbon border adjustment mechanism, it has some issues with like not knowing like what are the carbon contents of imports, and it's now like restricted to like only some product groups, so it doesn't cover a lot of the products at the moment. And I wonder if it would be just better to have a flat tariffs on all imports. But I think this is maybe a detail that I don't have to delve on too much. But I'm not sure also about like, is this are some of these groups necessary? So the idea is that the country could join this kind of union, so they can either be in this like group 0, or they can be in one of the 4 other groups, and if they are in one of the other 4 groups, they get the benefit of not being exposed to these tariffs, but they will also have to commit to this climate target, and so let's see about these groups like one by one, like what's enticing here. So I think group 1 could be enticing for those countries that kind of like think that it will be cheaper for them to reach their own climate goals. And now I'm thinking here, like, well, I think this might be only relevant to like the low emission countries. So these, I don't know how would it like how would I like let's see, I'm gonna make another layer here at least. Okay, let's just write stuff here. So here, enticing to low emission countries. And this might not be enticing to low emission countries. I don't know. And here's also like why this is a little bit tricky. Is it difficult to estimate what is enticing to which countries? Because I think it has a lot to do also with the dynamic of what are the other countries, or what would be the other countries in the same group. So if there are a lot of high income countries in the same group, there's a lot of money to be made on this system. But is it also So maybe a word about this carbon price, because this is one thing that I've been a little bit wondering, like how is who determines the carbon price? So the carbon price would be set high enough. So this would basically be, I think, like maybe emission trading system as I discussed before, but it should be set high enough so that those countries that are within this pool of groups 2 to 4, so that their combined national targets would be fulfilled with that carbon price. So now I'm thinking, like, is the option 1 too enticing for the poor countries, so that there would be, because if the poor countries or the low emission countries, if we had this system of having equal emissions over time, and or have this. I think it would be a lot lower. Let's actually let's have another graph altogether here. So we would have the average would be a lot more like this, I suppose. Or actually, let's draw from the, so something like this. And then we have our, so this would require kind of like the, you can calculate on a global level, like to reach here, some kind of so here something like this, like some kind of like global average that everyone kind of like has to, so this would be for each country the average budget. I'm thinking like how to, there should be a sensible way to also make this budget. So okay, so I'm thinking about like how should we have then, like if this is the, okay, let's also do some so we have emissions and time here. So how would you make yearly emission goals for each country if you have countries that start from higher up? We have countries that start from here, and then we have some countries that start quite a lot below the level, and then we have like some countries start from here. So and I just wonder, like, is it might not be realistic to think that we could just give this budget and then trust that this country here, they will have like this kind of path. Or I don't know, maybe that's not, yeah, something like this. Yeah, this, yeah, okay. And here, this country, they would have to go like way below here. Okay, yeah, this is like, can we trust that this kind of thing happens, that each country stays in their budget by going like especially these high emitting countries, that they will go so much below the average at some point? So can we then like trust them to, even if they have like this kind of emissions, can we trust them to then go like this? It's so there should be like some kind of very harsh punishment mechanism for those countries that don't achieve their targets, or then the system should make some levels for each year for each country, so that they are on some kind of path to reach their goals. So, or at least some kind of like minimum path that they have to reduce at this level for it to be credible at all. And even if they have like some remaining, like some of their budgets would kind of like, yeah. And basically like, yeah, these countries here, they are allowed to go. They would be allowed to go something like this, for example. And yeah, this is it's such a weird dynamic, and it's but I think it is a huge benefit for those poorest countries. But now, yeah, those poor countries, like in the system, everyone can trade like no matter if you're in groups 1 to 4, you can trade, or if you're in groups 1 to 2, you are allowed to trade with other countries, and here in groups 3 to 4, you kind of like let the system to do the 1 to 3 to 4. We are basically having all the countries to come here for the global average, because they pool their targets together, so they get to this kind of like, maybe it's not all average, but it's very close to average anyway. So, and then there's a quite nice path towards the carbon neutrality, or the neutrality on the part of that group's emissions. And by pooling, like they are, I don't know if you need that one actually, so they are just because they commit to the, basically they don't have like country specific targets. They don't have to adhere to this quota, but because the carbon price is set in such way. Okay, let's make a let's specify this a little bit better. So commit to I don't know if we can talk about global carbon price, because if it's not such a carbon price, so this is kind of like some kind of like, I don't know what do you call it, like a super pool, a pool of pools, and this is also like kind of like a super pool, and this is a super pool of different, and this also here. So if these countries that makes, I don't know if it makes, okay, let's go like pool to reach its target. So this group 2 is a little bit odd one, I think, because it's not pooling emissions, but it's still so I'm not sure if this is like necessary or not, because it could be that they I think this would be countries, I don't know, but I think it's just that they want to commit to this kind of efficient method to reduce emissions without having to commit to this distribution system included in the, but it's, then I'm wondering, like, is it fair actually, because it will affect the carbon price, but it doesn't, like, I'm thinking about how will it affect the dividends and carbon prices. Like, if we have, let's say we have like a lot of like so I think this would actually, yeah, so this, so if this one group 1 is enticing to low, I think this would be enticing to high emission countries. So, but they are like, I'm thinking, is like, because then what kind of effect does it have? It's gonna increase the carbon price quite a lot. So now that if we have in groups 3 and 4, what if those countries have poor, what if they have like, again, like low emission countries and poor countries? Would they be harmed by having this group 2? Like, would it be better to have just groups 1, 3 and 4? So I'm gonna have to think about that for a while. It could be really bad if they, so let's say that we have we have in group 4 or group 3, let's say we have this here, like this very low emission country, and they will commit to this carbon price that goes something like this. It goes like higher and higher, and it would be kind of like efficient in a global level to reach this kind of path. So what it might do is it might lead to this kind of it would just keep this like very. So now we are, let's have a case that we have in group 3 we have only one very like poor country and low emission country. So it would do like this, and the net revenue for this country because there's only one country, it would be 0 because it's paying the taxes and it's receiving the benefits. But then this, whether you go like a deadweight loss or the cost from this kind of like the harm to the economy from this carbon price would be bad. So is there a way to get out of this? And now basically these countries they wouldn't benefit from this quota that they have because they would lose this much basically, because the carbon price without any redistribution it would just keep their, instead of being in like group 1 and selling this to a higher emitter which is allowed them to emit more if they would like sell this quota by being in group 1. But if we remove this group 2, if group 2 is not an option, it would be a lot better for, I'm gonna remove this. It would be a lot better for those low emission countries, and I'm also thinking like, is this but is there, yeah, because this would so what if we change this in a manner that so pools 3 to 4 Okay, we got some spam. Yeah, so what if only 3 and 4 if only they are setting the carbon price? So then if we have this case of having, like, let's say again, like we have this only one country here, only one poor country, and they have these targets, so then the carbon price would be such that this target is fulfilled. It will probably be around 0 for a long time here, so then it wouldn't be a problem. And then if we have the richer country comes along, then the price would be more like this. But because if the rich country was involved, it would also be in this redistribution system, so that wouldn't so I don't think, like, still thinking like this country, it has to, we cannot have. Commit. Yeah, we cannot have this, but then it might be a little bit not like maybe it doesn't make sense then to have this group 2 at all, because if there was this kind of divergence, or this kind of, if these groups would be so different that, for example, we have this one very poor country in group 4 and then we have some rich countries in group 2, they would have very different carbon prices, like carbon prices that are so the group 2, they would have to add so much more carbon price on top of this carbon prices that is defined by groups 3 and 4, that it kind of like loses, it doesn't really make sense to be in this system. So yeah, it doesn't really. So we could maybe remove this and make. Is there some way to still have like more groups? Like, are there some other dimensions or aspects that we could group? I'm also thinking like would it be fair? So what if we take this out? So we only have this. So this one group 1, I think it still remains quite enticing for the low emission countries, but then it is a question of and this could lead to this group. So if the low emission countries, but could this also be good for high emission countries, because will they have would it be cheaper for them rather than, especially if these groups 3 and 4 are very much populated by rich countries, high emitting countries, so that would mean that the carbon price is very high. So yeah, I'm thinking like, would this lead to some kind of equilibrium in the end, where the because there's this price here that purchases, and this would be public, so the price would so there would be this kind of like market price, and we have a market price here as well. So would it make sense for these prices to quite quickly like be equal to each other, like, because I think it would mean that if there's like a higher carbon price here to be paid rather than the purchase price for additional unit, let's say that we are talking like from a rich country's perspective, so then it would make sense to switch the regime here, because then it's cheaper, like you can even like set the carbon price yourself to be equal to this carbon price here, but you don't have to, wait a minute, I think it would, it's just my intuition that it would read to like at least higher emitting countries, if this price is lower than this price here, they would go here, and then there will be so many countries migrating that, and it would increase this price if the higher emission countries come, because it would increase the demand for these quotas, and then the prices would go up, and then it would eventually like equal this market carbon price in the groups 3 and 4. And let's have a, in the meanwhile, let's have a like short like talk on the group 4. So this would basically be like what do the citizens of each country want. So they want this, if they want the revenue to be distributed evenly. Maybe I should talk about like with my page I have the maybe I should not be talking about dividend. I could also be talking about like some redistribution or something. So then it would kind of like leave it so maybe now that like if we have this result that this would end up in equal carbon price, then is there a point to having like even these different groups at all? But there might be like some even if there's like if they are equal in costs, there might still be some policy preference. I think the group 1 represents some kind of more independent system, and you have the option of reducing you have the option of reducing your emissions. Yeah. I'm also thinking like could there be harm if some countries would switch between these different systems over time? Like, could it be beneficial for a rich country to be like for some time in the I don't know. Okay, I think that's the end of the stream now, but I think what we achieve is that group 2 is actually harmful to have group 2 in terms of like fairness and dynamics, and it might be that like group 1 in the end it's gonna be a way to have those countries in the system that are that have a more that like prefer their independence more, and then I don't know. But I have to think about if there are some kinks here from countries migrating from one group to another, and you go from this having no national budget thing to having a national budget. So how do you define that national budget then? Like, is it from that point on, or do you calculate somehow like what was the budget in the year of when the system was started? Not quite sure there. Okay, that's it for now.